Hey, how's it going? And today I'm going to show you how to take user input and store it in an array that can be called up later. And this is probably one of the more complicated tutorials I've ever done, so if I make a couple missteps along the way, you'll have to pardon me. But what's interesting about this is the file, when we save it, it's going to be saved in a slot, and the particular slot that this is going to be saved under is 1.save. So if you wanted to save other levels, then you would just need to increment your folder name to 2.save or 3.save. But it truly saves the array information, so it's fantastic in a way. But I'm just going to go ahead and delete that so that I start fresh with new data or no data. So what I can do is, to show you how this works, is you come in here and I could type in Joe Smith, and then I could type in Darth Maul, and then I could type in Luke Skywalker, and then I can type in Yoda. Okay, and then if I go print, it'll show all the data that I've input. But what's great about it is once I hit save, it's going to save it as that 1.save file. And if I close the game and I come back in and I hit load and then I hit print, it's going to recall all that data. And so it's just a really useful functionality to know and understand. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started from scratch. And so I apologize that this is going to be a long tutorial, and I'll do my best to go as fast as I can, but there's just so many steps along the way, it's very easy to get turned around and confused. And so what we're going to do to start is we're going to go into the first person blueprint, and we're going to do everything on this level. And I'm going to start by creating a variable for our array. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the first person character, and this is where about 50% of our work will be. But let's just create the array into which we're going to store our variable. So I'm just going to call this my array, and I'm going to set it as a string, so it'll accept text and numbers, and we'll go compile and save. Very important, we got to come over here and set it as an actual array. Compile and save again. And it can be left private. It doesn't have to be public. Or does it? Well, I'll go ahead and make it public anyway. Okay, so there we go. We got it made public. And we don't have to put any elements in it. So that's interesting. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create our user interface. And we're going to go to Widget Blueprint, User Widget, and we're just going to call this menu. And this part is just a question of formatting. It's not difficult, it's just time consuming. So it's canvas panel first, drag this onto the scene, and then we're going to make 3 buttons. So we're going to go button, and I'm just going to make these one at a time because it seems like I make a big mess when I try to cheat and duplicate them. So we're going to go onto text. So this button here, we're going to call this one load. So LOAD, make sure it is variable. On the text, we're going to go ahead and set it to load too. And then once that's made, we're going to go ahead, click on it, and drag it down here to near to the bottom like that. Then once it's down there, we're going to hit Control D and make another button. This one, we're going to call this save. Here, open, click on the text, and we're going to call this one, save name, save, compile and save. Click on the save button, and then you drag it down here right underneath the load button, right there like that. And I do have this, let me set this, it doesn't look like I have that size to content, or this one either. So I show them on the button and size it to content. Thought it looked a little weird. Like I say, this part is just time consuming. And then we'll click on the save button and we'll hit Control D And then we'll drag it down here and put it down here. And this one is going to be our print button. So we're going to call this print. And then we're going to open our text here. And this one is going to be called print. Like I said, this isn't difficult at all. It's just time consuming. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to line that up just a little bit. Okay, and then the next thing we're going to search for is what's called the text box, and just drag this on here like this and make this big. And of course you could add a lot more graphics and explanatory text on here, but we're just keeping it basic. Make sure it's set to is variable. Come down here and on the opacity, just drop that down to 0 and go OK. And then here you could just put enter text. And that should be good enough for that. And then we'll compile and save. So then what we're going to do is just come on to our text box here, come down to the bottom, and we're going to go on text committed, which means after the person has hit enter. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create an array. And this array, we're going to populate this array. Every time the person hits enter, it'll put an entry into the array. And so that's what this is all about here. This is really one of the key parts of the whole thing. So before I get too carried away, let's just go ahead and test that this function actually works. So let's just go to a print string. We can delete these print strings later, but in the beginning it's good to have them just to make sure we don't make a mistake along the way. And everything's kind of bunched up there. So let me compile and save this, and then let's go back into the first person blueprint here. And let's go ahead and add our widget. So we're going to drag off of here and go create widget. And then we're going to drag off of here and go add to viewport. And then just plug this in right here. And compile and save. Oh, I got to select the class, which is menu. Compile and save. Now if I hit play, there's our text box. And I'll go, this is a test. Test. Yep, and it seems to be working fine. So that's good to know. I've actually had that not work. So now one of the things about this whole thing is that when I think of storing variables, for some reason, just because of all the tutorials and training that I've had, is I like to store the variables in the first or third person templates just because it seems like it's a safe place to store them, and it seems like I never have any problems accessing the variables from there. Every time I put variables in a different type of blueprint, there always seems to be some kind of problems with accessing them, but I rarely have problems accessing variables that are in the first person or the second person template, so that's why I like to keep them. So anyway, that's why we start off with just putting my array here, because it's just a safe place to keep it. So here's an example of that. Is now what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get that my array variable from the first person. So we're gonna go cast to BP first person character here, and then we're gonna go ahead and right click here and go get player character here, and put this into here. And now we're going to go ahead and promote this to a variable. And then what we're going to do, which gets an object reference to it. And then we're going to go ahead and drag off of here. And we're going to get my array right here. We did set it to an array, right? Yeah, so that's important to make sure we set that to an array. And then there's something called add unique. So we're going to search off of here and go add unique. And what this does is it searches the array and makes sure that there's no duplicates. Now there's this input box here, and that's going to take this text right here. So we're going to pop that in there. We just pull this up like that. It kind of looks goofy, but and then all we're going to do now is a for each loop. So we're going to do for each, so it'll cycle through the array and populate each one And then we need to put my array into here. Okay, double click here, make a reroute node. And then just to make sure that it's doing that, we'll just put a print string here. Just to check. And plug that in like that. Okay, so that sets up our array for our user input. This should populate an array. And we go compile and save. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our main screen here, and we're going to click on print and just scroll down here and go on clicked, and there's our on print. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create an event dispatcher. I'm just looking to see something here. Is where's my event dispatcher? It should be here somewhere. It seems like all day it's been like this. Is like things it should be. Oh, there, isn't that weird? There it is. Okay, that's just one of those things, I guess, is event dispatcher. Okay, so what we're going to do is add an event dispatcher, and we're going to call this notify print. And while we're down here, let's just go ahead and do all of them. So we'll do it notify save, and then we'll do notify load, and get those out of the way, and then compile and save that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and drag this notify print over here and go to call, and this is what's going to initiate a call to do our print. And believe it or not, we're almost done with this part of it. Actually, that is a call. Yeah, we do want to call. So this is going to call. And then we want to go ahead and drag off of here and look for bind notify. Bind notify print. And then we're going to have to create a custom event here. So custom event here. And we can just pop this into here like that. And now what we're going to do is we're back to casting we want to get our array again. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag it off of here and cast to BP first person character, get player character, and we're just going to pop this into here like that. And then we're going to kind of do the same thing we just did, is we're going to drag off of here and get my array right here, and now this is going to loop through the array and print out each string it finds. So we're going to go through for each loop right here, and then put this in here and put the array in right there, and we can do a print string off of this as well, just to make sure that it's working. So print string and go like that, and then input it like this. And then we're almost done here. Like I said, this is about 30%, maybe a little bit more. And we have 2 more buttons that we got to deal with. So if we come back into go back into the design view, and we go on our load button, and we go add on clicked, we can just drag off here and go call, and this is what will initiate our call to the first person blueprint when this button is clicked. And then we got to just we can actually come over here and where we can right click, so we have load and print, and we just need save. So if you right click, I thought you could right click, maybe not. I don't know, I thought you could right click and get that. But anyway, go over here to designer and click on save. Come down here and go to on clicked, and then we'll just get our notify save call and plug that in there. Just to review, we've got 3 buttons: print, load, and save. The load and save are going to make calls when they're clicked to the first person blueprint to trigger our load and save functions. Our on clicked is just going to go through the loop through the array and print out what we have available. And then the on text committed, it's going to put each of our entries into an array. So let me hit there and save. And now let's go see if this, where we're at with this and how this works so far. So I can go, this is line 1, enter, and then I can go, this is line 2, enter, and then this is line 3, enter, and if I go print, it prints out our 3 lines. So far so good. So that's good, and we're kind of at the halfway point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the functionality to save our game, to save our data. So if we go and get back in here to first person, we're going to go ahead and, let me stop this, and go ahead and right click, and we're going to go to blueprint class, all classes, and we're going to go to save game right here. Select that, and that's our parent class, and I'm just going to call save it here, and then we're just going to double click on this, and then we're going to go ahead and create an array, and this array, I'm going to call this my stored array, and this is what's going to hold our array values. So strings, compile, and save, and go ahead, make sure you make it an array, and I guess we can make it public, and go ahead and compile and save. And again, interestingly, we don't have to put any elements in this. So we're going to have our first person array into which we're going to store our variables initially. Once those are saved, then we're going to send them into this variable where they'll be saved on the hard drive separately from everything else. So that's that, and we don't have to do anything else with this except reference it in the first person blueprint. Okay, so now what we're going to do, everything, all we have left to do is just here in the first person blueprint, and we're really on the home stretch. So what I was going to do is, it looked like, did I have my first person functionality here? So let me see. This is test. I have my ability to print and stuff, so it looks like I don't even need to enable the click on click ability right now. So I think we're good on that. So that's going to save a little bit of time. But it may be that if you can't on click something, you may need to enable that functionality, and just look at the other video I just did on how to do that. So what we can do is just move straight into this. So that actually is going to save us just a little bit of time. So this part is the most interesting part, and really kind of the main thing of this whole thing. So this pin right here is very important because it's going to complete our event dispatching from the widget blueprint. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to search for bind, and we want, the one we want is bind event save. We want this one here, and then we're going to drag off here, and we're going to go search again for bind, and we're going to want bind event load. And then we have to create custom events for these. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to right click and go add custom event, and we're going to call this save just for clarity, and then this gets plugged into here, and then we're going to make another custom event, add custom event, and we're going to call this one load, and this one gets plugged into here. And these basically form 2 branches. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this. This got to be in the chain, the executive chain here. So pull this one here and this one here. And then we're going to kind of branch off from here to finish things. So let's go ahead and do the load first. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull off of here and search for something called load game from slot right here. And we're going to name the slot anything we want. We can name it 1. And this is going to be right back to what I showed you in the very beginning. And then we're going to we're going to drag off of here, and we're going to go cast to save it. And this, we can link this up right like that. And then what we can do is we're going to promote this to a variable. And this should be giving us access to the stored data. The stored data that we want to store in the array so to do that, we just need to drag off of here and search for, we just search for my stored array. We just have to get it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a for each loop. For each loop right here. And we're going to drag this into here and this into here. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to set. So we're basically taking the data from the stored data and populating it to the array in the first person character. So we're going to search for set my array, I believe it is, here. And then this has to go into here. And then we can print off a string here just for clarification and just go print string. And this is just going to say array loaded. And now, interestingly, we can hit compile and save. Hopefully we don't get any errors. We're going to just do the opposite up here. So we're going to reverse the process kind of that we just did. So off of here, we're going to save our first person array to the array in the save game blueprint. So we just have to kind of reverse what we just did. So we're going to go create save game object, and it's going to be to the save it template blueprint. And then here we're going to go for each loop, and then we can just get my array since it's a variable that's right here. Get my array, and we can just pop this into here and keep the exact string going. And then we want to go ahead and set my stored array. So we're going to have to drag off of here and go set my stored array right here. Let me double click this. This is looking messy. And then the exact pin goes in like that. And then my array goes into here. And this is getting messy again. So let me double click here. And then the last thing we have to do, there's 2 of these. And then I'm going to drag off of here and go save game to slot right here. It's amazing the amount of work. It's funny, we see something and you don't appreciate like all the back end that's involved with doing something that seems relatively simple, but it is interesting how much is kind of involved with this. And then we can print a print string here too, just to confirm that it was saved. So we're just going to put print string array saved. And so it's not that it's necessarily that complicated, it's just that there's so many steps involved and there's so many little things that you have to know. So let me go ahead and compile and save this, and hopefully this will work. So we're going to go ahead and go into first person, hit play, and we're going to go, this is kind of hard to do, but with practice it isn't that hard. Oh, I hit an apostrophe. It gave me that. Enter. I have to hit off apostrophe here. Where's my apostrophe? Oh, it messed me up. That messed me up. Oh my gosh. Sorry for the disruption there. I had to completely shut down the computer. The takeaway is do not press the apostrophe. It opens the AI debugger and it overrides everything on your screen. And the controls on the AI debugger don't even seem to work. So I had to shut the whole thing down and start it all back up. But in fairness, once I did, I tested it and it does, everything does work. But I want to be fair and show you that I did make a mistake. So, and it's real easy to fix. So I'm going to show you where we're at. So we're going to go ahead and just enter some text here. This is line 1. And then we're going to enter, this is line 2. And what's interesting, this is limitless. This is line 3. This is line 4. So if we go print, you'll see it's temporarily saved our data. If I click save, it says saved. Now if I close the game and I go back in and I hit load and I hit print, I don't quite see what I was expecting to see. So what it's doing is it's loading previous information that I had used on another test. So let me go into the drive here real fast, into the Unreal projects, and we'll go to save games. And this is the save file it had on. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So it'll be a nice clean array. And then I'll show you there was an error, and the error was when we were doing this, I forgot to put in the slot name. So you need to put that in. And that's, remember when I said little tiny things like that? That's one of the little tiny things. So make sure your slot name is in there and over here. So I think those are the only 2 places that it is. But then other than that, everything else is correct. So now we'll go compile and save. In fact, I'll do a little zoom out here so you can get, if you wanted to get a screenshot of this. This is the final, basically logic here on there. And then if you wanted to get a shot of the menu is here. That's what the menu looks like, pretty much. Okay, so now let's go and test it. Do not hit apostrophe or a lot of curse words will start flying out. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so here we go. This is line 1. And I have to figure out a way to clear this out. This is line 2. This is line 3. This is line 4. And like I said, this can just go on forever. This is line 5. The end. Okay. Then what we do is we save it, and I can hit print. It'll print. It stored it all. And now if we quit the game and we come back in and I hit load, oops, hit print, hit load, and then hit print, all the data comes back in. So this is just the beginning of a user input array. As you can see, there's quite a bit involved with it. There's a lot of little steps. I think this is the longest tutorial I've ever done, but I think it's worth it once you understand the power of arrays and then the ability of a user to input their own data and influence the game as well. So anyway, that's all I had for today. I hope you found this helpful. I appreciate you hanging along. I realize it was a lot of ground to cover, but I wanted to show that you can really get this up and running, and I found it very difficult to find any tutorials about how to do this, so that's the reason why I did this. Anyway, take care, have a great day, and I will talk to you next time.